What's going on, guys? So today I want to introduce you guys to a new competitive format that I have created called the underclassmen category. But first, there's a few flowers I need to give out. Silverback Dad, thank you so much for helping me test. We also have Gina and Troy, the husband and wife duo who compete locally, who have helped me test. I want to give a huge shout out to V, my training partner, and number one in our organization. I'm number two. And I just want to thank you guys for everything that you guys have done in helping me to test these bays and to kind of get an idea and a feel for what should be banned, what shouldn't be banned. Because it may seem obvious, right, that, oh, well, Wizard Rod, whatever, needs to be banned. But you have to understand, like, there has to be a provable reason. We have to see the results. It's just having you guys help me in this has just been such a blessing. Thank you. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the current ban list, and I am gonna make a post showing off everything that is banned. Firstly, we went through great lengths, lots of discussion on parts that should not or should be banned. The only part that is banned is Metal Needle, and the reason is because it just destroys stadiums. So Metal Needle is banned. As far as anything else that's banned, there is no other banned bits. There is no other banned ratchets, but there are banned blade layers, and we're gonna get into that. And as CX comes out, honestly, I'm not expecting anything CX to really be competitive. If something is and it's oppressive, it can get banned. Otherwise, we're gonna avoid banning parts and ratchets. And I understand some people might say, oh, but you know, the history of RDF and all these other parts. If something really needs to be banned because it's just too oppressive and it breaks absolutely everything, fine. But for the most part, things like free ball and ball aren't super broken, right? That can be knocked out. They can be knocked out. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this. We're gonna start with the first ban, which is Aero Pegasus. A lot of people, so it's the idea behind it is that you have a competitive scene where just about any Beyblade can float. And in the underclassmen category, the idea is that bays you normally would not see, right? i.e. Hell's Hammer or heck, even Drawn Dagger, right? Bays that are a little bit less seen, maybe even Shinobi Shadow, without some serious firepower and hyper defense around, might find a niche. Right? Or some of the retrains. Aero Pegasus is a DLC bay. I've had people argue this with me. Look, man, as last year's champ, having to face it is rough. Because it is Phoenix Wing, but slightly rounder. It does not have the same vicious attack that Phoenix Wing has, but because it's less sharp. But you could put it on ball and sometimes outspin Rod and Wolf. There's so many different combinations that you could use it with, right? And again, I am going to be posting the ban list and the updated ban list in a community post for my channel. So if you want to go out and see it, you can see like everything that's banned as far as pictures. But Aero Pegasus had to be banned. It's oppressive in multiple facets as a defense type, as a balance type, as an attack type, as a stamina type. It becomes remarkably oppressive. So there's that. Silver Wolf is the second ban. The reason why it's banned here really does, it's as weird as this is gonna sound, it actually can sometimes outspin Rod. It is comparable stamina. It depends on your weight, sure, and the ratchet. But for sure, like as a stamina type, it's good. And then on Hexa, it's just one of the best defense types that's out there. You could put it on Transpoint as a sort of balanced defense hybrid. There's so many different things that you can do with Silver Wolf. And it does become a bit oppressive and harder to knock out. So we want to make sure that we have a more, shall we say, open format where one thing is just not dominating. Of course, there's always going to be a meta, but things should be able to float. And between weight, its ability to outspin, being a great defensive blade, there has to come a point, right, where you look at something and you say, that needs to go. And again, we're not trying to ban just Hexa Wolf, because even testing with multiple parts, and I've been testing for months and have gone through these blades in every single with different like configuration, with ratchets, with bits, with and different tech launching from different sides to see what the most oppressive thing is. So Silver Wolf is there. Phoenix Wing is the next one, the third ban. The reason why Phoenix Wing would be banned is simply because it's kind of the same thing as Aero Pegasus. Granted, it's cheaper, more people have access to it, but Phoenix Wing, especially with the plethora of parts that are out there currently, I mean, Phoenix Wing is remarkably problematic. It can probably, I dare say, um, the remold is where it got to the point where now it's sort of just dominant again, and we're seeing so many people running now. Even the Hasbro release, like mine, is 40.1 grams and it's missing a little bit of paint. Like it's so oppressive, and it can be used for stamina, defense on Hexa, and it could be used as an attack type, a balance type. It just dominates way too many fields rather than just having one niche and therefore developable counters. And part of this is also, remember, testing these blades not just with tech but also without, and just their natural behavior and how difficult they are. The next one is Cobalt Dragoon. Cobalt Dragoon, I'm sorry. So Cobalt Dragoon actually, on anything from low rush, rush, point, taper, but really Cobalt Dragoon also on elevate becomes problematic, because it's like there's so many things it can run, and you could even put it on needle if you wanted to just stop attack types, being left spin, being square, that square being a bit stamina-y, and also being able to be balanced out by a ratchet. That square being able to make a circle is just one of those things where it just has to kind of be out, because again, otherwise we're going to have to just ban the combo or the part, and there's a lot of things that can benefit from elevate, and you want your meta to develop naturally, and things that are able to counter that kind of matter. The next one that is up in the underclassmen bans is Tyranno Beat. Now, I do want to say this, all retrains, as I said in the original post, so like you couldn't use Tyranno Roar. So for those of you, because it's a retrain of Phoenix Wing, Tyranno Beat is a separate Beyblade. It is technically not a retrain of Phoenix Wing, for those of you who may get it confused, because they're both Tyrannos, right? But Tyranno Roar specifically is a retrain of Phoenix, and Phoenix is banned, therefore that retrain cannot remain unbanned. Tyranno Beat, however, is not a retrain. It is its own individual blade, and it is one of the premier attack types. Can be a premier defense type. It can even be used as stamina. I was kind of amazed. 760, and I was using 760 in Bull, and provided you can avoid them for a decent amount of the fight, it's destabilization. It's up smash, lateral smash, down smash. Can be used on rush. Could be used on point. Can be used on just about anything. It's actually pretty versatile, and I discovered a few sets I never thought I'd ever play with it, but it's pretty good. So Tyranno Beat is banned. Cobalt Drake, this is an interesting one. Again, when you get like some really good bladers together that are really high skill, and you start testing things, you can find ways to break things. Cobalt Drake can just be a menace. And I don't know why people sleep on it. I think a lot of it just deals with the fact that it's not popular or used that much. Is it somewhat fair? Kind of falls under, Tyranno Beat and Phoenix Wing, where it can be very oppressive at one job, but it can also float into a balance type, into a defense type. And it's another case of sort of like Cobalt Dragoon, where this square can make a circle. And on the heavier side, it can be very oppressive. So it's just one of those things where it was like, and I thought for sure, like maybe Hell's Hammer might just be super oppressive in testing this meta, but it wasn't, and there's still plenty of counters. As weird as that might sound, Cobalt Drake is a little problematic. Next up, we have Impact Drake. Impact Drake is just, I feel like the Impact Drake one is probably going to make some people mad, but I'm going to be honest. Impact Drake can be a threat, even if it does not have the best stamina. It can just be an instant win, even against Rod, Arrow, Pegasus. Impact Drake is, in my opinion, so much better than I think people give it credit for. I like it on either 470 and taper, or you can also use it with like 460 and high taper or 460 and taper. But like just alone using it, you could use it on everything from flat. I've seen people use it on point. I've seen people use it on underneedle, and I got to use it on underneedle. And let me tell you, I was KOing everything and bursting everything. It was broken. And I like it a lot, but I don't think that it's going to be healthy for a format. Next up, we have Drawn Buster because it's literally just rip and it's a 50-50 and it can be an instant win. And then if somebody is skilled with it, it just becomes oppressive. Drawn Buster is for sure problematic. Shark Edge. Also, again, like we could go into an in-depth breakdown on the stats, and Shark Edge, however, is super problematic because it's not even just about the bay itself being oppressive. It's the fact that, once again, it is oppressive in multiple times. You could put it on multiple types. You could put it on needle, you could put it on dot, you could put it on taper, you could put it on flat, you could put it on low flat, you could put it on elevate. It is just a threat across the board as this weird attack hybrid in any form of hybridization. It's problematic. You can kiss your stadium goodbye. And also there are things that could do multiple things that could do its job in the format, like Drawn Sword, right? Drawn Sword is a 3-pronged version and can work. Something even like Hellscythe as a pingy crazy attacker. There's just other bays that can fill that job, right? And the goal here is to give those bays a chance to shine as a form of a limited format, similar to Metal Fight. So the underclassmen category is going to be torn apart by Shark Edge and by its presence. Wizard Rod, this is the second to last ban. Why Wizard Rod? Wizard Rod is actually surprisingly good on taper, elevate, level, as a push attacker. There's so many different things you could do flat. You could do point rod. But rod ball and rod hexa, it doesn't matter what it does, what job it's doing. Being round and on the outside, it's very much like a twisted tempo. It can take on everything else in the ban list and with some skill, decimate it. Even though Shark Edge could sure potentially knock it out, a good evasive player, again, who's using tech will just get around it, launch to the other side, force engagement that's unfavorable for it. There's a million tactics with Rod. You could use Rod on rush and it can outspin Rod on ball. Like, it's very oppressive. And last but not least is Whale Wave. Whale Wave was unique as it wasn't on the initial ban list. However, through extensive suspect testing, there are some problems. I have used Whale Wave 560 point, for instance, in a tournament. Whale Wave on, for instance, 360 taper or 960 taper. It can use flat, it can use low flat, it can use various defensive bits, it can use level, it can use ball. And it's not that it's necessarily super oppressive like a lot of the other meta bays here that are on this list, but it most certainly is a thing where Whale Wave is very close. And honestly, the thing is wicked. It is heavy. It hits hard. At its lightest, it is still a threat. It's much like Shark Edge. It's a lot like Shark Edge. So again, and all these bays, including their retrains, are banned. We tested it extensively, and I also had help. Again, thank you again, Silverback Dad, because Whale Wave on stamina, seeing it like in action as a counterattack stamina bay, and seeing that thing just spin. And what's worse is a lot of people I've seen have been using Rod on taper, and it's a hard counter on Rod on taper because Rod is attempting to push in an attack, and then it's like, okay. And then I did a lot of testing against what wasn't just in the ban list and against other things that it might have to deal with on something like 560 point. a very good combo for Whale Wave, and it was just far too oppressive. So that is the current ban list. Again, we have Arrow Pegasus, Silverwolf, Phoenix Wing, Cobalt Dragoon, Tyranno Bee, Cobalt Drake, Impact Drake, Drawn Buster, Shark Edge, Wizard Rod, and Whale Wave. Those are all the, again, current bans, and I'm going to be putting up a photo in a post where you guys can go and, just use that for this format. The idea of the underclassmen, again, is that the only part that's banned is Metal Needle, because, Metal Needle can damage stadiums. No ratchets. I want it to be a more open format, something where you can just let your creativity go wild with bays that are maybe underappreciated and that maybe you like, but maybe you struggle, right, to use that bay. Well, now any beginner can come in. It's super friendly. Most of these bays are cheap. Phoenix Rudder isn't. It's about to be with the new set that's going to be releasing soon, Random Booster for CX. Maybe that's your favorite bay and you've always wanted to use it. Now you have an opportunity to use it. So I think that the format, without having to worry about Arrow Pegasus, Wizard Rod, or Whale Wave, or Shark Edge. So the idea of this format is that it's a more open format, very beginner friendly, and will allow people to really play Beyblade with some of these Beyblades that maybe you've forgotten about. Maybe they're not. Maybe you've always wished that Knife Shinobi could be good, and now you have an opportunity to do so. In no way is this meant to replace the Anything Goes open formats that are in X. It's simply a way for somebody to be able, right, to play. As far as legalities also on stadiums, literally, when I say anything except for the bucket, as far as Hasbro or TT goes, the X bucket is, in my opinion, kind of bad, but having tested extensively in TT and Hasbro, as well as if you wanted to use like the Clash and Carry, the new one, the open one with no shroud, completely fine. Completely serviceable. So they are completely legal. As far as launchers goes, again, regulation is any string, any winder, provided that the launcher itself is not modified on the inside. So, you can't go in there and like change a gear out to change the gear ratios to modify performance. But things like grips, etc., decorations, completely fine. But yeah, that's going to do it for me. Thank you for taking the time out to check on this video. I do plan on doing some theory crafting for this, a little bit of like videos on how a deck can be structured in this format and helping to give ideas, because through extensive testing, there has been a great deal of us discovering new things that are good, some of which I featured on this channel. Through the testing, once there's this elimination of the oppressive meta, these things are able to kind of show off what they can do. And I think that that's really cool. And I think that it's going to kind of give players a new opportunity to kind of fall in love with X again. Maybe some of those older bays that they've maybe been sitting since like a year ago that just you never get to use. So yeah, thank you so much. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.